Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here, surprise, surprise, to do another Winona Ryder movie. What ended up happening today was that they did not put Godzilla, the new Godzilla movie, up on YouTube yet. So I'm not going to be reviewing that movie today. I've just decided to do this instead because since now this is December, last month we ended Sharon Tate year, sadly, and I was kind of unfulfilled because, she had like 2 or 3 like really, really good movies that she was in for the most part, but then other than that, it was pretty bad. So I really wanted to do another one of these years where I highlighted a specific actress that I really liked or actor. We did Richard Thomas month that one, or 2 times actually, because we liked him so much. And we've done, I think, a couple other months. Next year we're going to do a Burt Reynolds month, which we were going to do this year, but then I got sick, and we just didn't do anything, and it was hell. So, because the whole point of doing, like, reviews, I don't know if people know this, or maybe they don't really think about it, but the whole point of doing a review is promotion. A review, no matter how bad it is the promotion of a product in its very simplest form. Like when we ranted and raved on Better Call Saul, people still watch that show, and they still, even if they heard it was bad, they'd still watch it because they wanted to see how bad it was and stuff like that. And really, they just also wanted somebody to talk about it with, because nobody else said that it was bad except for us, because we were the only ones being honest about that shitty show. But I really want to be more positive, supposedly, by, highlighting actors that I like and trying to support projects that they've been in. Because, like, I would at least like to do that, on this channel. And so I'm going to do everything that she ever did, Winona Ryder, and including TV shows, music videos. If they have her full trial, maybe I'll do a commentary on the trial, because I did see a clip of it, and it was kind of hilarious. It was kind of a riot. So, her first movie, I have never seen. I heard a lot about it, and that's what we'll be reviewing today. This is going to be quite an epic review, and it is Lucas. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen it or not. Personally, the only thing that I ever heard about this movie was that it was the movie where Haim got sexually abused on the set of it, allegedly. I have to say allegedly for legal reasons. And so that's all I really think about when it comes to this movie. And so, I was kind of hesitant about watching it to begin with, because it was a little cringeworthy at certain points, because we'll get to that stuff though, and because but mainly, this was a mixed bag of a movie. There's so much stuff to talk about because it goes back and forth. On one hand, it is like a cringy after-school special where it has all the tropes and all the cliches, all the stereotypes of a coming-of-age movie. But then on the other hand, it's trying to do things a little bit differently and trying to subvert some of the expectations that you have and subvert the cliches and stereotypes, but not really effectively. Mainly, it's just kind of like it's there. Like I don't know if I'd ever watch this movie again, unless it was just for Winona Ryder, because I mean that was the only reason I watched this movie to begin with. So let's get started. This movie is about a boy named Lucas, played by Haim. And now let's just say this before I tear Lucas apart as a character. And I mean, I am going to tear him apart. But before I tear him apart, let's just say this. Haim was a great actor. I really liked him as an actor in this movie and The Lost Boys. And it's really unfortunate that he was lost too soon, or taken too soon. Because he was really, really good. I mean, genuinely a good actor. Not just one of those ones who passes away and then people pretend like they were really, really good. But like somebody who is genuinely really, really good. So, even though he was really, really good, though, this character was really, really bad. And that's just unfortunate. So, let's get into the story with him. He is a boy, and he is a nerd. And by nerd, I don't just mean like he wears glasses and he's smart. No, he wears glasses that are like huge on his face, like typical 80s stereotype nerd glasses. They're always fogging up. They look like they were bought at the Halloween prop store. But that's not it. He also wears, like, nerdy clothes. He's got this fucking fisherman's hat that he wears all the time, like a weirdo. He collects insects. That's another thing that he does. He's younger than all the other students in high school because he's an advanced student. And so at certain points they call him special. And I'm like, yeah, he really is special, if you know what I mean, because he's fucking stupid. And then, he's always got his mouth open like he's a drooling dog. That's another thing that really bothered me about this character, was the fact that, like, you're doing all this quote-unquote subversion of stereotypes, but then you have as the main character a drooling dog with glasses on, who kids make fun of, and he's a nerd, and nobody likes him or respects him, and he gets humiliated all the time in front of the whole school. And it's like, he is the definition of a nerd. If they did this nowadays, people would complain, and they would say, like, this is a hurtful stereotype. It is a very hurtful and offensive stereotype on smart people. But, I mean, it is really over the top, though. Like, I never saw anyone in school who was as bad as this. I mean, I did see a lot of weird, nerdy-looking kids, but they never looked as stereotypical as this cartoonish character. So we begin the movie with him, and he's just checking out babes. Like, he goes to the football field, and he watches the cheerleaders practice, and then they all chase him away and call him a pervert. Even though, like, you know, anyone could watch their practice because it's not a private thing, it's a public thing, technically, so that was kind of weird. And, because he just doesn't have anything to do, and, you know that he probably doesn't want to go home either, because you know that probably he's going to have a bad home, because that's another thing that we always see in these coming-of-age movies. You see the main character has a bad home. So then he goes to this little tennis court, and he sees the girl from the Goonies, and she is playing tennis by herself, and he's checking her out, and there's this whole, like, kind of funny interaction with them, where they meet, and they interact, and she's like, I'm new here in town, and I don't have any friends. And he's like, really? My name is Lucas. I like to collect insects. Oh, wait, no, I don't actually collect insects. Because if you collect insects, You have to kill them. And she's like, oh, wow, that's really sweet. So basically, we start off the movie where they're hanging out together all the time, constantly, every single day. They're hanging out. It is so hilariously unrealistic. Like, you have this new girl who moves to town, and what she decides to do is hang out with the nerdy loser kid looks like a drooling dog. What the hell is that? Like, seriously? The writer of this movie is living in a dream world. I had a dream last night where I actually, it was kind of funny because I did not expect this, but like, I had a dream where I was on a date at the mall with Winona Ryder, and it was like a long dream. Like, it was pretty awesome, and I was like, this is a dream for sure. I knew that it was a dream, and I don't understand why the fucking writer of this movie can't separate dreams from reality. Because, I mean, you have this new girl, she comes to town, and what she decides to do, instead of going to the hangout joint at the stupid pizza place, she decides to hang out with Corey Haim, this nerdy dweeb character, and I thought, yeah, right. Eye roll. So then they finally get back in school, and then there's also this thing where Lucas pretends like he lives at this big mansion, and you know that he's just pretending, and that, he probably lives in a trailer park, which he does. Spoiler alert. But then they get back in school, and we see Winona Ryder for the first time, and I was like, oh my God. She is so perfect. Like, even with like this tomboy look, I was like, if I went to school with her, you'd be damn sure that I'd be going out with her. And I got really upset because the first thing that happens, there is a reoccurring plot in this movie that Lucas, at first, he was a part of a band, and so was she. And she was always flirting with him and always trying to get his attention, always trying to go out with him. And guess what he did? He friend-zoned her and ignored her. So, like, the first thing that she does is she's like, I heard there was something funny at the movies tonight. You want to go to the movies tonight, Lucas? And guess what Lucas does? Guess what this fucking little shithead dweeb does? He ignores her. He ignores her. What a piece of shit. That is a crime. A total crime against humanity. He ignores her. And he's just like, he doesn't even respond to her. He doesn't even look at her. He treats her like she's a nothing. And I was like, how could you do that? You nerdy little shit. I was really, really upset with that. And I was like, seriously, are they going to do this the whole movie? Are they really going to... Is he really going to be this guy? Ugh. So then Lucas the dipshit, he gets humiliated in front of the entire school, and the Goonies girl runs after him. And this is when she asks him to go to the movies with her. And guess what? He says yes, and he responds to her. I was like, I was like, fuck this kid. Like, 20 minutes into the movie, I was saying, fuck this kid. And that's not a good thing. When you watch a movie, 20 minutes into the movie, you're saying, fuck the main character. That's not good. Right? Who does he think he is turning down Winona Ryder? Who the fuck does he think he is? And I was so angry that, like, we'll get to it. Like, I was starting to have a breakdown in this movie. And then we're introduced at the movie theaters to Charlie Sheen, the quote-unquote nice jock. And now this character is probably the worst character in the movie, fittingly enough. And he is like an after-school special character because he's the nice guy, and even though he's a jock, and he's like, leave Lucas alone. You don't hurt Lucas, other jocks. Leave him alone. You are doing something bad. Like, remember those videos that we were forced to watch as teenagers where you'd see, like, the fake bullying scenario with the real kids, and then the real kids had to go in and say something to the bullies? Like, that's exactly what Charlie Sheen was like in this movie. He was like, hey, knock it off. That is not cool. You are being mean and hurtful. Don't do that. And I was like, this is bullshit right here. Like, this is so fake and phony, and it's so disingenuous, and it's so stupid. It's totally unrealistic. So then that's when he's introduced to Maggie, the Goonies girl. And after all this time of Lucas putting in work on her, Charlie Sheen runs in on the hot new girl, even though he's in a relationship already. And that's something that really bugged me. Charlie Sheen, he was in a relationship with Ally McBeal. And I've never seen Ally McBeal, but she's a big deal, right? And he's already with her. And yet, he's like getting the hots for this Goonies girl. And they have this whole thing where she gets to go down to the school basement and she gets to do laundry with him while he's sitting there shirtless. I was like, that's a total fantasy. Like, really? Like, because what happens is they're in a home ec class, which I never took. I didn't need that shit. I know how to cook. I'm a man. I know how to cook. I'm an American Gordon Ramsay. No, I'm not. He's such an idiot jock that he uses the blender without putting the top on. And so he gets stuff all over his shirt. And the teacher is this, like, old-fashioned old lady. And she asks the students in class, like, which one of you wants to take the hot jock down to the laundry room to do the laundry? And the Goonies girl, the new girl, she volunteers and goes with him. And I thought, this is the most fantastical thing I've ever seen. Like, this is like a fantasy that, like, you would role play with someone. Like, if you were, like, doing fun, like, made-up high school role plays, like, this is a role play scenario. It is not a legitimate, like, scene that would happen in real life. Like, she's allowed to take him down there all by herself, no supervision, and they're doing laundry together. Like, I was like, this is a fantasy world. It's not even an after-school special anymore, because after-school specials, they'll slap you back to reality, and they'll remind you, you don't get this type of good shit in reality. You get shit. And so what he does is he encourages her to join the cheerleading team so that basically she'll be around him playing football all the time. And now, this is when she gets the hots for him, and she starts treating Lucas like shit. She starts giving him the cold shoulder and treating him like he doesn't exist. Or when he tries to talk to her, she's mean to him and rude. And so she joins the cheerleading team, and they have this little discussion, her and Lucas. And I'm going to read you the hilarious dialogue that they wrote. The band goes to the football games. You're in the band, Lucas. And then Lucas says, there's a big difference. The band doesn't have any fun at the games. And then she says, why not? And then Lucas is like, I don't know. And then the Goonies girl says, figure it out. What the fuck? Does that make any sense, guys? No. So, Ugh. Ugh. This movie was torture. So next, Charlie Sheen is still... Wait. When does the... Okay, never mind. That happens a little bit later. Okay, so for now, Lucas is in the hallway, and this is where we get to the scene where I legitimately had a mental breakdown, where you really had to have taken me away in a straitjacket when I watched this scene. Because Winona fucking Ryder, comes up to Lucas, and she asks him to the dance. And I was like, this is like heaven right here. Like, if that happened to me, like, look, I don't understand this dweeb. Winona Ryder in this movie, she is hotter than any of the girls that I went to school with. That's for damn sure. In this movie, even, like, if I was in school with her, she'd be the first person who I'd want to go out with. Because, like, seriously, she is, like, amazing. Even in this movie, like, total high school crush for sure. High school crush material. Which I did have a crush on her in high school. Still. But she asks him to the dance. And guess what this fucker does? He doesn't have a date with Maggie yet, the Goonies girl. He says, no, I already have a date. And he just walks off and leaves her. Leaves her. Ugh. And so when I saw this scene last night, I was like, I can't make any noise, but I started just like thrashing my arms, and I'm going to show you a video demonstration of what I was doing, because I was so upset. I was throwing like a tantrum, and I was like getting up, pretending I was Godzilla, destroying my entire room. I was like going through my hair with my hands. I was so pissed. I was like, how could you do this to her? How could you do this? She asked you to the dance. God, Lucas, you stupid idiot. And I gotta say, too, the hot new girl, the Goonies girl, she is nothing but a user of a person. Because, like, in the months leading up to school starting, she hung out with Lucas every single day. He's like 2 years younger than her. That's nothing, you know, especially nowadays. Well, then again, people on Twitter, they think that if you're 2 years younger, then the older person is a pedophile. I'm not even kidding you guys. It is so ridiculous. Like, you know, recently they were talking about how if they were to remake Twilight, that they'd have this one random-ass white bread actor with Jenna Ortega as the Twilight couple. And there was this one dipshit who was like, Jenna Ortega is 21 years old, and that guy is 25. That is legitimately pedophilia. And he is a pedophile and a predator. And she is literally like a child. And so, like, that's how people think nowadays, if you guys are wondering. Like, it is so cringeworthy. Like, on Twitter, at least, women don't become, like, adults until they're 30 years old or something. It's really, really weird and backward. It's really, really embarrassing. But she is, like, a total user because she hangs out with him all the time, and she gives him all this attention. And then as soon as school starts and she meets this jock, she totally ignores him and treats him like trash. And I was like, wow, like, I don't like her either. So, like, the only person in this movie I like is Winona Ryder. And then Winona Ryder they're at lunch, and she says, you don't have to look glamorous to get a date. And I was like, oh, Lucas, you stupid idiot. She's right there. She's right there. Like, why don't you go to the dance with her? It's really, really weird, guys. Like, who in the hell would reject Winona Ryder for the girl from the Goonies. I mean, who in their right mind would do that? Would be so insane, so maniacal, so sinister, so malicious, so evil that they would do that to Winona Ryder. Who would do such a thing? So at this point in the movie, I was like, this little fucker, he deserves what he gets, honestly. Like the bullying, the harassment, the shitty home, he deserves all of it and more for ignoring Winona Ryder, honestly. And also, poor Charlie Sheen's girlfriend, usually in this character in a movie, they'll make her be like a jackass so that we empathize with him breaking up with her to get with the main girl. But in this case, it's really him that's in the wrong and her that's in the right. Because apparently he's doing nothing but hanging out with her now. And so it's hilarious though, because they have this shot where he's dropping her off at home and she like gives him a list of demands and rules that he's got to follow. He's like, you are not to go anywhere near her. You are not to talk to her. You are not to look at her. We are not going to take her to the dance. And he was just like, like you didn't see his face, but he was probably just like, God, I'm in a spot here. Like he's like between a rock and a hard place, because on one hand, I mean, he already had a girlfriend. Like, why is he doing this? He's such a terrible person. He didn't just immediately break up with her. He just strung her along while he was interested in this Goonies girl. So then he breaks up with her the next day. And now this scene was really fucked up. Lucas shows up to Maggie's house, and she has agreed to go with him to the dance, by the way. Reluctantly. Because she's treating him like trash, because she's a user. And Maggie says that she can't go because Charlie Sheen is depressed, and he needs someone to be there for him because he broke up with his girlfriend. And I was like, that's really just an excuse, and that is really fucked up. And then I wrote, why can't you be happy and go with Winona Ryder, you little shit? I wrote that next. And then Charlie Sheen actually comes out, and he's not even crying at all. He doesn't look upset at all. And Charlie Sheen's acting in this movie is terrible, by the way. Like, I don't know why he got this part. He has no chemistry with the Goonies girl at all. Like, none. Like, and so that's another thing that makes this movie trash, is that they have no chemistry together. She has more chemistry with Lucas than Charlie Sheen, and that's kind of bad because we're supposed to be empathizing with her wanting to be with him, but it's like, no, this girl is a user, and she does not deserve to have like a happy relationship, because what's going to end up happening is she's going to use him, and he's going to use her, and then he's going to move on to the next Goonies girl. You know, like, she's just temporary too. I don't know why she doesn't realize that, because she's really stupid, this girl, and Lucas and him. Like, it is like, you know, usually when you have a love triangle, you have at least one person who's got brains. Like in the It's Kinda Wonderful, or what was that movie called? Some Kinda Wonderful. You had the main guy, you had the drummer girl, and then you had Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson, she turned out to actually be a really nice person too. And then the main character, he was an idiot because he wouldn't just get with the drummer girl, the tomboy girl who's really hot, Mary Stuart Masterson. But she was the only person in that love triangle who had any brains, because she even did this thing where like he wanted to practice kiss with her so that he could practice for kissing Leah Thompson, and it was probably like one of the sexiest movie scenes I've ever seen, and but like he couldn't get the hint that like he should have been with her, and so like Usually in a love triangle, you have that one character who has common sense and who knows what's up and who's like, why don't you get with me, you dipshit, or why don't you go with that person, whatever. But in this movie, you have Nimrod 1, Nimrod 2, and Nimrod 3. Just a love triangle of Nimrods. And Charlie Sheen, he's such a bastard. He is supposedly like Lucas's best friend, and he protects Lucas all the time because there was this one time that he had hepatitis and Lucas visited him every day after school or something, and so he's like his best friend. But we never really get that in the movie at all. Like, honestly, like, they don't really feel like friends at all, because in the second half, like, the majority of the movie, Lucas is like, fuck you, and then Charlie Sheen doesn't really do anything to, like, resolve the conflict for the most part. So Charlie Sheen announces that he's going out for pizza with the Goonies girl, and then Lucas is like, wait a second, why are you eating pizza if you're so sad? I was like... And because first Lucas is like, well, why don't you come along to the dance with us anyway, Charlie Sheen? And Charlie Sheen says that he doesn't want to come because he doesn't want to feel like a third wheel. But then Charlie Sheen suggests that Lucas should come along with them while they get pizza later. And I was like, and Lucas isn't going to feel like the third wheel there? Like, what a shithead. Like, that's really shitty. Like, he won't come along with them to the dance because he doesn't want to feel like a third wheel. But Lucas should come along with them and feel like a third wheel. Like, that's terrible. That's just terrible. But honestly, Lucas deserves it. And then there's a really cool shot where Lucas is watching the dance go on across the lake, and the dance is like reflected on the water. So like all the lights and all the people are reflected on the water, and it's a really, really cool shot. And this is the part that's really fucked up. Winona Ryder comes over because she was going to the dance with her friend, since this little fuckhead faggoty ass bitch Lucas wouldn't go with her. And she stops by him and she sees him and she talks to him. And I'm not kidding you guys, when this Lucas guy, he is such an idiot. He tells her he's thinking about something. He's thinking about deciding something. And then he abandons her. He abandons Winona Ryder. Ugh. Lucas. So what is Lucas thinking about deciding? He's thinking about joining the football team in order to be a simp for Maggie. He makes the coach add him to the team based on a Supreme Court ruling. And I was like, yeah, what a fucking loser. And there is also a very strange and disturbing scene where Lucas is in the showers with the other jocks, and they are making fun of his penis size. And then he tells the main bully that he doesn't get semi-erect when he's around other men. And then he says that they've done a study. You can always tell who the fags are by who gets hard in the gym showers. And then they start pointing out how the bully in this movie has a hard-on. And I was like, this is actually a really gross scene considering what happened on set of him getting sexually abused on the set, that they have this whole scene here where they're talking about each other's sizes in the shower. I was like, this is actually really creepy and messed up right here. But they gang up on him. They rub a burning jelly all over his genitals and wrap him up in a towel and send him outside to suffer. And he runs over to a fountain, and he sits on top of the fountain, and the water is like shooting up from in between his legs. And it's a really strange and weird shot that they did. It was like a really weird thing, like where it looked like something else was happening too. And I just, I don't want to say anything more, but it was really, really creepy. So this is when the movie kind of starts to become Rudy, like if Rudy sucked. And the principal says that he will not allow Lucas to play on the football team until his parents come in to discuss it. And you know that this will never happen because his parents suck. And, yeah. And then the principal, him not letting him play on the football team, that would never happen in real life. You know, in real life, a principal would not be able to interfere with these after-school activities unless it was about, like, him getting bad grades or him doing something bad on the football team. So I thought that was total bullshit, but he deserves it. And then the principal says, "You're not cut out for this." And I was like, that is none of the principal's business. And now that, and now this is the fucked up thing too. Now that the Goonies girl is dating the jock officially, she isn't giving Lucas the cold shoulder anymore. So as I said, she is a total user. And she actually deserves Lucas, and he deserves her. And then she says, "We were just friends, Lucas." And he was like, "Why?" And she was like, "I don't know." And then he says again, "Why just friends?" And then she says, "I don't know." Like, what is this dialogue? Like, who writes this shit? And then he says Romeo was 14 from Romeo and Juliet, and she says, "I don't know! I don't know!" Lucas, there are just certain people you like in a certain way. And then Lucas says, "I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm a nerdy little shit. You're talking about natural selection. You know, Charles Darwin?" This is what we call bullshit, by the way, because when she didn't know that the jock guy existed, she was totally okay with wanting to date Lucas. Like, when it was just them two in town together and she was hanging out with him all the time, she was totally gonna go for him and date him. So I thought that was total bullshit. And they have this hilarious shot where Lucas is standing up against this wall, and on the wall it says "sulk" on the wall, while he's actually standing there sulking. And I was like, why did they put that there? Did they put that there so that he would walk up to that specific part of the wall and sulk? I thought that was really strange. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed that. I don't think it said "suck." You know, I think it said "sulk." And he ends up going to the big game anyway. And he finds a uniform in the locker room. You know, it's really, really kind of contrived. And it looks like he's actually going to help them win the game, because they're losing really badly, because they're all focused on the Goonies girl for some reason, even though you got Winona Ryder up there in the stands, and it's like, oh, fuck her. And he comes out on the field, and I gotta say, this is one of the worst football scenes I've ever seen. Because, like, he's trying to help them out, and he puts on his helmet, and then he just takes it off. And then he falls on the ground, and immediately it comes off. And I was like, in real life, wouldn't they stop for a second and, like, make sure that his helmet is on correctly so that it won't come off, so that he won't get a fucking head injury? No, they don't do that. And so what ends up happening is that he gets into this mess where he's like the only person on the field in this certain area, and he catches the ball. And guess what he does? When he catches the ball, they put it into slow motion, and he literally takes off his helmet on purpose. It is so stupid. Like, why would you do that? Why would you take off your helmet in a football game? Like, It's stupid too, because like Charlie Sheen is the brawn, and he is the brains, and you think that like maybe this is going to be a scene where they bond together, him and Charlie Sheen, and the brains and the brawn work together to win the game, and then he's going to end up being nicer to Charlie Sheen again, and they're going to be friends again. Because, he realizes that, friends is more important than poontang with the Goonies girl, because fuck her anyways, Winona Ryder is like a million times better. But no, that doesn't happen. He takes off his helmet, and then he runs over a little bit to the right, and he immediately gets tackled, and then he follows the guy with the ball and grabs onto him without a helmet on, and then everybody piles on top of him, and they hurt him so badly that he passes out. And so he almost gets killed because he is trying to get with the Goonies girl. It's just so bad, guys. Like, why would you take off your helmet when you're playing football? Like, and especially, like, somebody who's this small. Like, he's smaller than everyone there. Everyone there is, like, gigantic, and he's, like, this little shrimp. And he takes off his helmet on purpose. And Winona Ryder's looking over at him like, why is he doing such a stupid thing? I really felt bad for her in this movie. Like, it's terrible. Like, it's terrible, terrible what they did to her in this movie. So then they have a sweet scene, in quotes, where the Goonies girl visits him in the hospital. And, usually in a cliche situation like this, she will give him a sympathy kiss for all that he's done. Even though she just wants to be friends with him, usually in these types of movies and these types of scenes, he would get like a little kiss on the cheek or a little kiss on the forehead. But nope, they don't do that, of course. We can't do that. We can't have anything satisfying happen because we're trying to do something different here. We're trying to do something interesting and unique and different. And it's like, yeah, but why don't you try to tell a good story? Why don't you try to have something good happen? He gets nothing. He gets nothing from almost getting killed playing football to impress her. That's terrible. And it's like the movie relishes. It relishes in nothing satisfying happening. And then, this is the funniest part, like, he doesn't give a shit about football, this Lucas guy. He doesn't care about it. He's not really a Rudy, where, Rudy really cared about football, and then he got what he got. This character doesn't care about football. But at the end of the movie, he returns to school, and all the jocks got him a Letterman's jacket, and they put it in his locker. So it's like a big surprise, and it's a really quote-unquote heartwarming moment. But it's really not. Because he doesn't give a shit about football. So he's just getting this Letterman's jacket is like a symbol that the jocks will not bully him anymore, and that they actually like him and they respect him and appreciate him for trying to help them out. And I thought, this how this movie's going to end? And yep, that's how the movie ends. He still is rejecting Winona Ryder, and it's like, remember that scene where he said, you can tell who the fags are by who has a heart on in the men's locker room when they're taking showers? Well, I think that you can also tell who the fags are by who rejects Winona Ryder. And so, like, that's how this movie ends. Winona Ryder still doesn't get anything. She doesn't get any sort of action at all. She doesn't get any boyfriend. And that's another thing, too. Usually in these types of stories, you could also do something where she would get with another guy, and then Lucas would realize in the end that what he did was wrong in friend-zoning her. which is what they did in that shitty Goosebumps show. You know how in that movie, funnily enough, a character named Lucas, he gets with that girl, and then that idiot jock, he realizes that he didn't appreciate her and that he didn't get with her. That is very similar. That is what really should have happened here, because there was this other character, and he was like a stereotypical fat kid character. And he was also a part of the video club. And he always carried around like this really expensive video camera, taking videos of everyone. And you could have had it where Winona Ryder got with him in the end. And then Lucas realized, oh shit, I friend-zoned Winona fucking Ryder. And I'm an idiot. And I'm gonna, I'm just going to be a miserable little shit for the rest of my life. And so, like, no, they didn't even do that. Like, they couldn't even give Winona Ryder that in this movie. So the movie just ends with a freeze frame. Like, I can't remember when's the last time I saw a movie where it ended with a freeze frame. That is really, really cliche. So overall, this movie is really flawed because the premise was that a guy falls in love with a girl, and then his best friend falls in love with her, and they get together. That plot really isn't well executed in this movie. Like, Charlie Sheen and Lucas never really make up. He makes up with the Goonies girl, I guess, but he's still in love with her, you can tell. So really, like, nothing in this movie comes to fruition. Everything is just unsatisfying, and it's almost like, what if Rian Johnson directed a high school coming-of-age movie? And there's lots of symbolism with, like, the locusts, too. You have these locusts, and they only come around once every 17 years, and the movie begins where you see locusts up close, and then the movie ends and the Goonies girl says that the locusts are gone and they won't be back for 17 years. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but, you know, symbolism and metaphors and shit doesn't excuse a bad movie. So this movie's pretty mixed. I wouldn't really watch it again unless it was just to watch Winona Ryder again and just feel sorry for her that, you know, Corey Haim's character couldn't see that she was, like, right there in front of him. Like, I don't know. I was really, really messed up watching this movie. It was a journey. And so, in terms of food, I was thinking about, you know, sometimes in grade school, because I was thinking, whenever you review coming-of-age things, you tend to think about, like, what school lunches were, because those are a good review to give coming-of-age movies. And there were some days where, and it really pissed me off, because usually on Fridays, we would have cheese-filled breadsticks with marinara sauce. But there were some Fridays where we would have breakfast for lunch. So we would have pancakes with powdered eggs and maybe sausage patties and hash browns. And then we would get 2 packages of maple syrup, or packets, to put on it. And we got orange juice instead of milk. You know, because usually they actually forced us to get milk with our lunches. You know, they said that it was required. You have to get one type of milk, whether it's chocolate or strawberry or regular. You have to get a type of milk. So I was never a really big fan of the breakfast lunches. You know, I did actually like how the powdered eggs tasted, though. You know, I didn't mind that. I know that a lot of other people would be turned off by that, but I actually kind of liked it. But I did not really like having, like, that generic breakfast for lunch, especially when we could have had cheese-filled breadsticks. And that's what this movie's like for me. It's like, you could have had all this great stuff happen in this movie. You could have had something satisfying happen, like, he gets with Winona Ryder by the end of the movie, or something like that would be really satisfying. But instead, he gets a Letterman's jacket that he doesn't even care about. And so you're stuck with this breakfast. And another thing that would suck about this breakfast, too, is that you're from eating the maple syrup all over the elements of the breakfast. The maple syrup would get all over your hands, and your hands would be sticky. And it was so bad to the point where the janitor would stand next to the trash can as you threw your lunch away, and then he would have to hand every single kid a wipe so that they could wipe off their sticky hands. But there were some times where the janitor would not even do that, and so we had to wipe off our hands with like a towel or something and just have sticky hands for the rest of the day. It was really fucked up. So that's what this movie is. It is breakfast for lunch in elementary school with powdered eggs and cheap sausage patties and cheap pancakes that are not even as good as the ones you get at McDonald's. So anyways, please like this video and comment, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more reviews on Winona Ryder movies. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.